Alright, welcome back to RPG Maker, Unit 3, Day 1. Today you're going to create your intro cut scene, and the intro cut is going to be the very beginning of your game, and it's going to basically be almost like the cinema scene that lays out the storyline, or at least kind of tells the player where they're at right now. And so I have a house, basically from a normal town, basically coming from the world map. And so what you're going to want to do first is wherever you want your intro cutscene, you are going to make sure you're in event mode. So I'm in event mode, that's map mode, that's event. Find a spot where you want them, set starting position, boom, there he is. So he's just going to start in this house. And so in event mode, you're going to be creating your first event, and it's going to be an auto run event. And anytime I do auto run, you click anywhere, it doesn't even matter really. I generally tend to put them where a player can't get to, just because it makes it easier. So I'm going to double click on that spot, and then so this is what our event editors look like. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to name it intro cut. And the trigger that I was talking about is going to be auto run. And what that means is when the player hits that map, it's going to automatically start this event. So whatever we put in here, as soon as the player hits the map, it's going to start. If you wanted to put something on a map but only have it trigger after a certain event happens, that's where you would have a switch. So maybe a player can go in and out of this house as many times as you want them to, and the event's never going to trigger until they talk to a certain person. And then as long as that event that you talk to that person has a switch attached to it, whenever that switch is activated, then this event will happen. So that's probably super confusing right now, but it'll make sense in a couple videos. So we're going to be auto run. Priority doesn't necessarily matter. The movement you're going to ignore because nothing's moving right now. This event itself is not moving. You don't need an image for this because it's just a blank auto run event. We don't have any real switches yet, so everything's going to be just normal because it's intro cut. So the first thing that I want to happen is I would like music to play. And so I'm going to go play background music. So let's get sure. Put it in there. Next, I want text. So I can have, this is where either a character is going to start talking or maybe the game is talking. So for the background, you pick window, which is going to show up as like a blue window. If I pick dim, it doesn't necessarily show up when you preview it, but it's going to be white text on like a black background. And then if I pick transparent, I still get a window, but I can see through it. It's really hard to read. And so for this one, you're probably going to go window. The position, you're either going to put it, it's going to show up at the top of the screen up here, it's going to show up in the middle, or it's going to show up on the bottom. So what you're going to want to do is pick a location for everything. So when characters talk, maybe the characters' windows are going to be on the top, the narrator windows are going to be on the bottom. Maybe the narrator windows are dim, where characters talking are windows. Just whatever it is, stay consistent. So this is going to be a character talking. I'm going to put it at the top. I want a window. Who's going to be talking? It's going to be the main character, Brian. There he is. So he's going to be saying, man, what a strange, if I could type, I can't type, dream. Preview it. Always preview it because you never know if it's going to cut off. They give you a line right here that lets you know that it's probably going to get cut off, but sometimes it's a little bit off. Sometimes you can hang over it and it'll still be good. So just check it. Boom. And then one of the things that I like to use that really stretches out your game that a lot of people don't use is you're going to want to put like a pause in here. So for every 60 frames, that equals 1 second. So I want like a 2-second pause. So I'm going to put 120 frames. So he's going to say this, and it's just going to go 1, to before the next thing pops up. So then I'm going to go back, show text again. I'm going to put me saying something else. I need to go find, and then maybe this is where you throw your second character in. I need to go find Steven. He'll know what that means. Remember to keep it consistent. I'm going to put it back at the top. I'm going to preview. Everything looks good. Okay. And then, so these are all the things that we can add throughout this event. Just to show you, I'm going to show you what shake screen looks like. So how long do I want it to shake for? 120 power, make it bigger. And then wait for completion. So it'll shake before it'll move on to your next event. It'll finish. It won't. If I set this for like 10 seconds, it'll shake, but then if I don't click wait for completion, all the other things after this will start happening. So I want this to finish first. Okay, so this earthquake now happens. Now the main character is saying, whoa, maybe it wasn't a dream after all. Top. Perfect. Okay. And so now I am going to fade out the background music over the course of like 4 seconds so that it goes relatively quickly. Okay. Now I want my character to start moving. So maybe he's going to take 1 step forward, 1 step forward, 1 step forward, and stop. And then he's going to say something else. I wonder if it is safe to go outside. Preview, always preview. Okay. And so you can leave an event and come back to it. Okay. And the reason I want to show you this is because I've already broken the game. If I try to run this event, it's not going to work because I have him taking 3 steps. He's going to go 1, 2, and then he's not going to be able to step. So it's going to stop. So I either have to move him or go change my event. It's easier just to move him. But all you have to do, my event's sitting right here, double click it, and it'll take me right back to it. So now, where is he going to be? 1, 2, 3. So now I'm going to want him to go to the right, 1, 2, 3, 4. So you're going to go back to set movement route, and you're going to want him to turn right, or you can hit just move right. Okay, apply. And so the way you can test these is by hitting play test. You can hit game, play test, or just hit the play button. So we're going to play test this. See if it works. So he's starting here, the game starts, it should auto run right to it. It's going to loop because we haven't told it to stop yet. Alright, so it's also got my other party member in, so you're going to want to fix that. Man, what a strange dream. I need to go find Steven. He'll know what that means. So there's the screen shake. Whoa, maybe it wasn't a dream after all. So he's going to move forward. I wonder if it is safe to go outside. Now he's going to move towards the door, and it's starting to loop again. So far so good, except we have all of our party members in. And so what we're going to want to do is we're going to go back, and you can change it, let's see, or I am going to go starting party, and I'm going to delete these 3. Apply. Okay. And so now, so our character's here, 1, 2, 3 down is what we want him to do. I'm going to have him show text. And top, okay. Show you preview. Okay. And so now I'm going to go set movement route. He's going to move down 1, 2, 3 times. Okay. And then from there, so he should be hitting this stairway. And so from there, what I'm going to do is, normally there would be a transfer, but in this instance, I'm just going to transfer him myself. So he's going to hit that. We're going to transfer to normal town. He's coming out of this house. I want him to face down. Okay, apply. Okay. And so now he's going to be out here. So let's see if that works so far. So you're going to always want to make sure you play test. Right click. He's going to walk. Transfers him out. And now, since you're not within that map anymore, that event doesn't exist. Except if I go back in, which there's no switch there right now. But if I were to walk back in there, it would start over all over again. Except the game would break because you wouldn't be able to move in the spots that I set your movement route to. So now you're free. So that's a pretty good intro cutscene, because it kind of explains what the character is supposed to be doing right now. It gives you a little bit of background. Normally they're going to be a little bit longer. This is just real short, just to kind of show you. But you can have more characters in there talking to each other, explaining the situation. But now you're basically free. And I would assume if this is a game that I had just started playing, that my objective was to find Steven and to kind of talk about this dream we just had and possibly this earthquake. And so what I would start doing is going into these buildings and looking for him. So you want to make a little bit more detail and add more text to explain. If you wanted to, you could also set an event out here. So let me show you how to close the first event though, so that this doesn't keep happening. So this event's done. So now what you want to do is create a switch to stop this. And so after that happens, because it's going to move on to the next one, you are going to control it with a self switch. And so that now control self switch A is on. So that means nothing until I hit new event page. So now you can see these tabs. Now there's a second page. I want this second page to come on when self switch A is on. Apply. And so now it takes this entire event page, it goes all the way through it, turns the self switch on, which switches us to this page, which means now I can go back into this house and this switch is done. This event is nothing anymore. It's already happened, self switch turned it off, and now you can return to this house like it's nothing. So we're going to go here now, we're going to create another auto run, and then I want to give my players an indication of what to do. And so just to kind of show you what like a narrator one would look like, let's go dim. As Brian sets off to find Steven, he must be worried about the earth quakes. He keeps feeling. Preview. Okay. And so now all I'm going to do is just throw another self switch so you can see what it's like. A on, new event page, self switch, A is on, apply. Perfect. And then let's go ahead and create a transfer. Into the house. And transfer out. All right, let's try it. So it should start with this auto run, move us outside, and then I should have the ability to go back inside without anything happening. Walk. So there's what it looks like when it's dim. So it's kind of the narrator speaking now. As Brian sets off to find Stephen, he must be worried about the earthquakes he keeps feeling. And now that event doesn't exist anymore. It's gone. So if I go back inside now, that event too is dead. The self switch turned it off. So now it's not going to auto run. So now I'm free. When I go back out, that event's not going to auto run because the self switch turned it off also. And so now the character's trying to find his friend. You could even throw in a comment about, why is nobody else out here? Or you can go out here and we can create a person and they can be walking around. And then we'll get into how to add text to them later. But now this person will basically be walking around. So that's how you create your intro cut. Make it much more in-depth. A lot of intro cutscenes will go anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes. But your goal is to give an idea to the gamer what's happening with the story, or at least kind of brief them on what you're supposed to be doing. And you're always going to be wanting to give them text that tells them where they're supposed to go or what they're supposed to find, or maybe there's a side quest or something. So that's basically it. Just make sure that every single time you create an auto run event, you're creating a second event page with a self switch that switches to the second event page so that it turns it off. Otherwise, you're going to be stuck in this never-ending loop and the game will never get going.